Welcome to History Love, where the past comes alive with untold stories, grand voyages, and the echoes of history's greatest moments. Today, we set sail on an extraordinary journey, the story of the First Fleet. A tale of hardship, hope, and the birth of a new world. This is the odyssey that shaped a nation. The genesis of a colony, the visionaries behind the First Fleet. The story of the First Fleet did not begin with the clinking of chains or the unfurling of sails. It began in the hushed chambers of power, where empires were shaped with ink and ambition. Lord Sandwich, a statesman with an eye on Britain's global standing, and Sir Joseph Banks, a scientist who had glimpsed the shores of Australia during Cook's 1770 voyage, were among the first to champion the idea of a British colony in Botany Bay, New South Wales. Their vision was not merely a place of exile for convicts but a strategic foothold in the Pacific. Banks found an ally in James Matra, an American loyalist who, in July 1783, proposed a settlement of displaced Americans, Chinese laborers, and South Sea Islanders. His report, a proposal for establishing a settlement in New South Wales, August 24, 1783, laid out a grand colonial vision, but it did not include convicts. Yet the wheels of history turned on necessity. The loss of America as a penal colony after the Revolutionary War had left Britain in crisis. Overflowing prisons and festering prison hulks on the Thames made a new solution urgent. The final decision rested with Lord Sydney, Secretary of State for the Home Office, who saw in Australia both a penal solution and a strategic answer to French expansion in the Pacific. By September 1786, the plan took shape. Captain Arthur Phillip was appointed Commodore of the First Fleet, charged with transporting convicts and soldiers to establish a colony at Botany Bay. Upon landing, he would become Governor-in-Chief, wielding absolute power over this distant outpost of the Empire. A secondary colony was to be established on Norfolk Island, its dense forests and flax-rich lands holding naval promise. The price of empire was steep. Outfitting the fleet cost Britain £84,000, a sum that would amount to £9.6 million, $19.6 million, by 2015 standards. But for those who orchestrated this grand endeavor, the cost was justified. This was more than a colony. It was the birth of a new world. The Armada to the unknown, the ships of the First Fleet. Beneath the grey skies of England, 11 ships stood ready, their decks groaning under the weight of supplies, tools, and over 1,000 souls bound for an uncertain fate. This was no mere fleet. It was a floating civilization, tasked with forging a new world across the vast and unforgiving ocean. At the helm of this historic voyage was HMS Sirius, the fleet's flagship. Once a Baltic trader named Barrick, she had been repurposed for war, her 520-ton frame bristling with 20 cannons, double her original firepower. Commanding her was Captain Arthur Phillip, though his duties as the future governor meant that command of Sirius would sometimes fall to Captain John Hunter. By her side sailed HMS Supply, a nimble, two-masted armed tender. Once a humble ferrying vessel, she had been rearmed with 4 12-pounder carronades, making her a crucial escort for the vulnerable fleet. Under the command of Lieutenant Henry Lidgebird Ball, she would prove invaluable in the uncharted waters of the Pacific. But at the heart of the fleet were the 6 convict transports, each a floating prison carrying Britain's exiled souls. Alexander, the largest, with over 200 convicts in her hold. Charlotte, a sturdy vessel, carrying both men and women. Scarborough, a dark and disease-ridden ship, its conditions among the worst. Friendship, small but heavily burdened with convicts and provisions. Lady Pennerhan, a ship of sorrow, its decks crowded with female prisoners. Prince of Wales, a vessel carrying both convicts and those who would govern them. 3 supply ships, Borrowdale, Fishburne, and Golden Grove, bore the lifeblood of the colony: tools, seeds, livestock, medical instruments, spirits, and even the wooden framework for the colony's first government house. On Golden Grove traveled Reverend Richard Johnson, the colony's chaplain, bringing with him not only the word of God but the weight of civilization itself. These ships, their timbers creaking with the strain of history, would set forth into the unknown. Some would never return. Others would carve their names into legend. But together, They formed the First Fleet, Britain's greatest gamble, and Australia's unwritten future. As the First Fleet cast anchor in the vast, untouched lands of Australia, they were not just prisoners, soldiers, and settlers. They were pioneers of an uncertain future. Against the odds, they laid the foundation of a colony that would one day grow into a thriving nation. Their journey was more than a voyage across the sea. It was a testament to resilience, survival, and the unbreakable human spirit. At History Love, we believe that history is more than just events. It's about the people who lived it. If you love exploring the past as much as we do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more incredible stories from history. Until next time, keep the love for history alive.